Hi, today just made a definite step forward in terms of realizing the full extent of my responsibility as a human being in this world. And that's saying something because I was born here with no clue whatsoever what to do, and in blind trust my family, and family being a product of society, therefore trusting society to do what is best for all. And in that blind trust, only realize that I've been disregarding myself, and not only myself, but everyone else in the process, because we are not so disconnected from each other as we would constantly tell ourselves. Which, in my case, was one justification of why I focused so much on my feelings and how I felt about something, rather than consider um, the physicality of each situation, the physical manifested consequence of each action I take. Also, today I've been very persistent in applying myself within every breath, and always making sure that this connection is never severed by myself, never stopped by myself, never obstructed by myself. And reaching again this stage where I experience within myself an intense silence, emptiness, a state where I no longer desire anything, no longer chasing after something, and starting to settle down and getting used to living here instead of living according to my desires, which by the nature of desire always yanked me along, me deluding myself that I must go someplace better, must make myself better, as I've often insisted within myself, to make myself better, to make myself a better person. And only to find out that it's this implied belief that I am not good enough that is the cause of all of these problems I am currently experiencing within my reality. Today, within studying, I encountered within and out of myself intense resistance towards it, and I saw within those moments the very clear distinction between how I feel, which in those moments were directed by who I actually allowed and accepted myself to become, and then also see physical reality as the physical consequences of my action, in this case, studying for real and applying myself for real, and doing that over doing that over time and really applying myself. And I'm noticing that whenever I stray just slightly away from the studying task I am completing here, either by rushing myself or mainly rushing myself. It's only when I rush myself, even by a little bit, that I then give myself excuses to fall back into patterns of procrastination. Yet this is one day since realizing the rushing point, and I have so-called improved in terms of directing this studying point and no longer accepting and allowing the point of procrastination. This doesn't have to be a smooth, it doesn't have to be a gradual transition from procrastinating to procrastinating diligently to studying diligently, but that is what I have accepted and allowed here. So rather than deny what is here, work with what is here, so that every success and every failure become a win-win situation, where I accept it as a lesson for me to learn, and my day today was occupied by all of the things that I mentioned in my last talk, and going back to the studying point, I noticed that after a certain length of time or after short breaks, I would make it difficult for myself to begin studying again, to pick up where I left off in my studying. And I justify that pattern by yeah, shoving, like mentally shoving down my throat that I must get this studying point done. I must complete studying the entire syllabuses now, and also accepting and allowing the belief that there is not enough time. So that happens whenever I find myself having to begin studying again, either after a short break or the next day. And since this only happens once a year, I'll comment about New Year's Eve and the strange, happy feeling that people stick onto this day called New Year's Eve. It's very, well, for me, even when obeying my ego, I've never treated holidays as something special, because especially Christmas, it's it was quite a fascinating experience for me, because I think when I was about 6 years old, no, earlier than that, maybe 4 or 5 years old, I remember hearing about Santa Claus, and then I would have this thought of, is he really real? And then one night, the tree was there, and it was Christmas. So within myself, I was saying to myself, okay, if he's real, when I wake up the next morning, I should see presents underneath the Christmas tree, as everyone has advertised. So I go to sleep, I wake up mildly excited to see that he is real and presents are underneath the Christmas tree. I remember rushing down the stairs and then seeing nothing there. And at that moment, just clear, still silence within myself. No hate or resentment or anything. Just, oh, no present. I guess Christmas is all a big hoax. Yes, sure. Go back a few hundred years, it may have been a holiday that nurtures relationships. Let's just say it does. The past is the past. What it's being used today is a marketing scheme to sell more gifts and to support experience living instead of living by the principle that stand infinitely. And what I mean by experience living is living according to how one feels. And implied within that point is a point of greed and self-interest. Only interested in how I feel. I don't give a fuck about what others feel. That would be the mentality that I had at one point in my life. And also, while physical reality just exists here, I always found it quite puzzling how we make up this time system of, 12 hours, 24-hour days, 365 days in a year, 12 months, and this is all superimposed onto this reality that has no calendar, has no time. It's not like everything has a timestamp on it. And then we label this one day that is made up in a make-believe time system and call that special. I mean, if that one day is special, then what are all the other days? That is quite bleak and quite unnecessary to hold such implications by holding this one day called New Year's Eve or Christmas or even one's birthday to be especially special. Because that just implies a polarity judgment on every other day, which in fact simply here and actually not defined by our so-called invented calendar system, time system. Every moment is just here. Yes, time and the calendar system is useful for organizing and meeting up with people, yet to organize ourselves and when we should feel good or when we are allowed to feel good on this one special day, and to also define ourselves according to how we feel, thus defining ourselves by greed and self-interest. It's completely unnecessary and unimaginably destructive. Without a doubt, if I and everyone knew the actual implications of such a way of living, we would all never do it, ever. Yet that's the thing. We have somewhat given up on ourselves and allowed ourselves to become observers of our lives and just let everything play out, let everything flow, when that in fact is not really a flow, and it's just living out what has already been laid out for us by ourselves. I'll stop here. This whole vlog I have really tense neck. I'm going to watch myself after. Thank you for watching.